When Social Security began back in 1935, it was intended to be one leg of someone's retirement income stool. The other two legs were savings as well as pensions. Now that's been 90 years ago, and it is very rare today that people have pensions, so that leg is gone. That leaves savings as well as Social Security. Well, recently we found out that 70% of all people surveyed said that they have less than $15,000 in savings for retirement. So for many people, that leg is also gone. That means that sometimes people have only one leg in their retirement income, and that is Social Security. And so that means that whenever Social Security makes any changes, it's going to impact millions and millions of people. And so in this video, I'm going to explain the 5 major changes coming to Social Security for 2024. All right, change number 1 that's happening this coming year is the Social Security quarter. Now what this means is all of us pay into the Social Security tax system and we accumulate quarters. And so as long as we have 40 quarters paid into Social Security, we're able to draw benefits. So it takes a minimum of 40 quarters. Now this may be your own 40 quarters, or actually it could be a spouse you're married to, or even an ex-spouse or a deceased spouse. But we have to have 40 quarters to be able to draw Social Security. And so what Social Security does every year is they establish the quarter. And last year, the quarter was $1,640, $1,640. That's been adjusted to 2024 as $1,730. So as long as we have net self-employment income or W-2 income of $1,730, that is going to give us 1 quarter. Now, we cannot accumulate any more than 4 quarters in the year. That's the maximum, but we don't have to work the whole year to actually accumulate those quarters. So what happens is if someone's going to earn 4 quarters in the year, we multiply that times 4, and all they have to do is make $6,920 in reportable net self-employment income or W-2 wages, and they've accumulated their 4 quarters. And this happens for Medicare as well as for Social Security. And the reason the government did this when this whole system began, 1935 for Social Security, 1965 for Medicare, is they want to make sure that people would get to that 40 quarters so they would be eligible for at least a basic benefit. So that's change number 1. Now the second change has to do with maximum taxable income. Which means this: we only pay Social Security taxes up to a certain limit on our income or our net self-employment income or our W-2 wages. All right, so this year in 2023, that limit was $160,200. So if someone is working for someone else, they're an employee of someone, what's happening is they're paying 6.20% and the employer matches that 6.20%. So we got a 12.40% that's going in to fund the Social Security system. But it caps at $160,200 this year. All right, that 12.40%, if you're self-employed, you'd pay the full amount. But moving into 2024, they raised that number to $168,600, so a little over 5% more. So those of you that are higher income are going to be paying a little bit more of your income is going to go to Social Security. And so they say this affects less than 7% of the population. The majority are going to be below that. So again, this is change number 2. Hey, if you found this video helpful and if you want to see more Medicare information just like it, then go below, right below the video, and you can give us the thumbs up as well as subscribe to our channel. And every time I put a new video, which is about 2 every week, you'll be notified of that video, and others just like you who need this vital information will get it as well. Now, change number 3 has to do with what we call the earnings test. And this applies for people that are still working and they're taking Social Security prior to full retirement age. Because if we reach full retirement age, there will no longer be an earnings test. In other words, there's no impact upon our Social Security benefits once we reach full retirement age. We can work as much as we want, make as much money as we want, no impact. But if I take Social Security prior to my full retirement age, that benefit, Social Security benefit, is going to be impacted. And that's what we mean by the earnings test. They're testing your earnings. Now, one thing to note about earnings test is they're only testing wages, working wages of the person receiving Social Security. That's not family income, spouse income, it's your income. And it has nothing to do with rental income, investment income, pensions, annuities, IRA distributions, 401k distributions. None of that's tested, only working wages. Okay, so let me give you a quick example. Let's just say that someone has a date of birth of 12/25, Christmas Day, 1958. They have a full retirement age of 66 and 8 months. All right. And so what happens? Well, 12/25 of 2024, they have turned 66, but they're not yet full retirement age because we got to add 8 months to that. So here's the way we do that. We're going to count January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So August of 2025, they will have reached their full retirement age, at which time, if they're taking Social Security, there's no longer an earnings test, but prior to that, they're going to have an earnings test. And so we have what I refer to as a low amount for earnings and a higher amount. And so the way it's going to work in my example would be this. This person was born 12/25/58. That means they could have started taking Social Security at 62. They actually could have started at 12/1/2020. So watch this. Here's what happens. So we have a low earnings test, and we have a high earnings test. So the low earnings test in this example would be someone that took Social Security December 2020 all the way to the year before they hit full retirement age. So in my example, that would have been December of 2024. Okay? And so they have this low amount. This year, that number is $21,240. So if they make working wages, net self-employment income above that amount, for every $2 they go above, they take $1 out of their Social Security benefit. So if they're above $4,000 above that limit, they're going to have a reduction of $2,000, and they will withhold Social Security checks until that amount has been paid back. All right? And so for every $2 above, they take $1 out. So what's happening then in 2024, I haven't had a chance to memorize all these numbers, that number is going to $22,320. So if I stay below that number in working wages, there's no impact to my Social Security. But if I go above that in 2024, what's going to happen? For every $2 above, they're going to take $1 out of my Social Security benefit, and that amount is totaled, front-loaded, and they withhold Social Security until that complete amount has been withheld by Social Security. All right, so that's the low amount. Now, we also have another amount, a higher amount. And in my example, the higher amount is the year you turn full retirement age. So in my example, what would that be? That would be 1/2025 all the way through July, because I'm not yet full retirement age, but up to July it would be. So through July of 2025, I can make more money. Now this year, when I'm shooting this video, this number is $56,520. So if I stay below that, no penalty. If I go above that, for every $3 above, they take $1 out of my Social Security benefit. Again, it's going to be front-loaded. So this number is also changing. It's going to $59,520. $59,520 in 2024. So again, for every $3 above that number, I lose $1, but if I stay below it, there's no impact upon my Social Security whatsoever. So for those of you that are going to consider taking Social Security while you are still working and you have not yet hit your full retirement age, these are the numbers that you're going to have to live with, and this will be based upon what you're making, and then that will determine if there's going to be any reduction in your Social Security benefit or not. That brings us then to the fourth change, which is about the cost of living adjustment. We call these the COLAs. And COLAs happen because this is the government's way of saying that as prices go up, we want to make sure that people's Social Security check is not dwindling away. We don't want their benefits to be eroded by inflation. And so we've had these cost of living adjustment now for many years. And so in 2023, actually had the largest one in 40 years, which was 8.7%. Most folks were really, really excited about that. Now the 2024, not so generous, but again, there's a formula that determines all this. And so even though we had inflation, our increase for Social Security and those that are receiving SSI benefits, Social Security disability benefits, all those are going to get a 3.20% in their checks come January of 2024. All right, so let's talk about how this happens, because it's just not random, willy-nilly. There is a formula to this, and it's actually tied to the Consumer Price Index, W, which stands for urban wage earners and clerical workers. So what happens is every year they look at what this group of consumers are buying, things they're purchasing, and they have this what we call basket of goods and services, and they look at the third quarter of every year, and they looked at, of course, 2022, and what they do then is they're going to compare that to the next quarter, third quarter in 2023. And so same basket of goods and services. Now we have the third quarter of 2023. All right? And if they take the difference between that, and if this is higher, they take the percentage of the increase of these goods and services, and that becomes then the cost of living adjustment, which again was 3.20%. Okay, so they calculate this every year. In the last 20 years, the average has been 2.6%, so this was a little bit above the average, but I know some very disappointed because of all the inflation that we've been dealing with in our economy. Hey, if you come to a place where you know you're going to have to make some Medicare decisions pretty soon. The best way to do that is to click up here in this right-hand corner, and you'll have an opportunity to be able to book a call with one of our Medicare guides. All the guides around here I have personally trained, and they truly are professional. They'll answer your questions, and they'll show you different Medicare options to make sure that you're confident in the decision that you make. Now, in our business, we get a lot of questions about Social Security, and recently, once the Social Security COLA was announced, people were asking, well, I'm not yet taking Social Security benefits. Am I going to still benefit from the cost of living adjustment? And the answer to that is yes, as long as you are eligible for Social Security, which means 62 and above. Even though you're not taking benefits, you will benefit from the cost of living adjustment. Okay, so and let me show you why. And so what I'm going to do is just do a quick review and show you how Social Security actually calculates our monthly benefits. So what they do, first off, they take the top 35 years of earnings. Top 35 years, okay? Now, if you work 40, again, they're going to take top 35. If you work 30, they're going to have some 5 zeros in there because it's all going to be top 35. And so what they do with the top 35 is they apply an index to those so that that dollar amount then is going to be in real dollars, because what you made 30 years ago in 1993, it would be worth more today. So they want to put that in real dollars, so face value of dollars. And so they're going to index that up. And so when they do that, we're going to have hopefully a fairly large amount here. And they're going to take that number and they're going to divide that by 420 months. All right, so let's just say that someone has made in this 35 years, they've made $1.6 million, okay, over their lifetime. So this is actually lifetime earnings. Top 35 years indexed up. Now, just so you know about the index, actually once we hit age above 60 plus, if some of those 60 plus years are in that top 35, they do not index those up. They just take those for their face value, okay? Anything prior to that, then it would be indexed up. So my point is we have this lifetime earnings divided by 42, and what that does is that gives us a number that is called the average index monthly earnings. Now, this is not yet what we're going to get for Social Security, but it is part of the formula. So let's take that 1.6 million and let's divide that by 420 months, and that's going to give us $3,809.52. Let's keep it simple. Let's just call it $3,809. Okay, there's 52 cents in there, but we'll call it $3,809 is our average index monthly earnings. So what they do with that then is they take the $3,809 in our example, our aim, and then what they're going to do is they're going to apply that to bin points to actually come up with our Social Security amount. All right, so these bin points, and I have not memorized these fully for 2024, but I'm pretty sure the first bin point is 1174. In fact, let me verify that. I don't want to be wrong. That's right, 1174. And the next bin point is 7,078. All right, so what this means is of the first $1,174 of my aim, they're going to give me 90% of that, okay, in my Social Security check. Okay, so let's take the 1174, hang on just one second, 1174, and we get 90% of that, and that would give us $1,056.60, okay? Then the difference between this second bin point, whatever is between there, then we're going to get actually 32% of that. So in this example, the difference is $2,635. We get 32% of that. So 32% of that gives us $843.37. Okay? All right, so they're going to add that to it. Now, if I was above 70,078 in my aim, then everything above that, they actually give us 15% of that. All right, but in my example, these people are not, they're actually below that, so they're not going to get anything of the 15%. So they're only getting applied those first two bin points. So we take 1,056 plus the 8,437, and that tells us what our amount is. And it's $1,899.97, okay, almost $1,900. And this is what they call our primary insurance amount. And what that means is this is what I'm eligible for at my full retirement age, or what some call normal retirement age, which for most people today, it's going to be somewhere between 66 and 67. So if I take my benefits at my full retirement age in this example, that's how much my check would be. Now, if I take my benefits prior to my full retirement age, I take as early as 62, then what happens? I'm going to get less than that. It's actually about 0.5% a month. So let's say I'm full retirement age 67, and I take at 62, I'm going to lose a full 30% of my primary insurance amount. Now, I have the cash, but I'm going to take a 30% reduction, and that is going to be for life, which means the only way my benefit can ever go up once I begin to take benefits of my own is only through the cost of living adjustment. Now, if I take it full retirement age, there's no reduction, but some people decide to take after, and they actually can delay that until age 70 and grow that account at 8%. So my full retirement age is 67, and I take at 70, I grew that a full 24%. Now, when people used to have a full retirement age of 66, they could grow it a full 32%. Can't do that today. But the point is, if we take early, we take less. If we take later, delay that, then we're going to get more of a check. Okay, and so this is how the benefits are calculated. Now, I said earlier, well, what happens to people that are not yet claiming? So what happens is this. This full retirement age amount then, if you are not yet taking, is going to go up by 3.2%. So they calculate that in. So when they come back and they decide how much your Social Security benefit is going to be, they're going to follow this formula. But every time there was that cost of living adjustment, it impacted your primary insurance amount. So though you're not taking, you haven't claimed yet, you still benefited from that. So this is the formula that's followed for 2024. All right, that brings us into the fifth and final change for Social Security for this next year. And I want to talk about the maximum Social Security benefit. What is that going to be? Now, first off, let me remind you that there are very few people that get the maximum benefit. And what this means is this is the maximum benefit for new retirees. And so when we talk about maximum, this is the most anyone will receive. So you just learned earlier as we went to that formula, this is somebody that maxed out all 35 years. In other words, they hit that maximum cap that's subject to Social Security taxes every single year. And again, they say less than 7% of all people even do that. But those numbers are important because they change. The government always publishes these every year. So first off, right now in 2023, if someone were to retire this year at 62 and they had maxed out those 35 years, that benefit would be $2,572 a month. Going into 2024, it's going to be $2,710, a little over 5% increase. Now, if someone goes to full retirement age, which is somewhere between 66 and 67, this year, had they maxed out, they would have gotten a check of $36.27. I know very few get this, but they could if they would have maxed out. That's going to increase into 2024 to $3,822. Now, if someone were to delay, not take it full retirement age, and grow that account called delayed retirement credits at 8% a year, and they went to age 70, this year they would have received a check of $4,555. Next year, it's going to almost $4,900, $4,873. Again, so this is a number that's published every year as they make the cost of living adjustments and make these adjustments to make sure people know if they retire at these ages, that's the maximum that anyone would receive.